Man, we killed that.
Way to go.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Juice. We're your hosts, Wyatt Frankens and Shane Campbell.
Cheers.
And we've got a special episode today, man. Why don't you give them a little rundown?
Yes, we've talked about this for a while now. This was one of the first ones before we even started the show, talking about having these guys on. Didn't even know if they would show up. Mr. Reece Nelson. What is your official title?
Yeah, glad to be here. So I'm the lake manager at Sam Rayburn Reservoir.
Okay. Yeah, so I wasn't even sure. I mean, Wyatt and I talked about having you guys on. I was like, man, they might be like, you guys are crazy. We're not going to come talk to you two idiot fishermen in some dude's garage. You built a studio in a corner and like that sounds
profile.
like
This is a high profile guest here that we got.
We are very excited to be here, and this is a top quality production.
You don't have to lie, man. They can't see what's behind the camera. They can't see what's behind the camera. Yeah. But no, man, there's a lot of really cool topics we want to touch on. And I think we should just kind of roll right into it and start with the history of the lake. If you're willing to kind of give us a little breakdown on what it was originally built for and what its purpose is and what we're doing here.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. So again, thank you very much for having us here today. You know, I know it's hard sometimes to get us out of the office and talk to us, but at least this way, you know who you all can come and talk to.
Sure.
And we're real people. We're here. We enjoy the lake just as much as y'all do. So thank you very much for that. Yeah. So Sam Rayburn originally was called McGee Bend Reservoir.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. So renamed after the great Texas Senator, Mr. Sam Rayburn.
Yes.
We were authorized under the Flood Control Act of 1944, but not built until around, I think construction started in mid-60s, 64, 65, impounded by 68. So Flood Control Act of 1944, obviously, we had some major floods down around this way all across the nation. Congress decided that we needed to build some reservoirs to control that flood water. The original purpose for building Sam Rayburn was flood control, hydropower, and water supply, sending that down south along the Natchez River. Part of that, we build a big lake. You're going to have people that want to recreate on it.
Sure.
You're going to have fish and wildlife around the area. So although our original primary purposes and missions, as we'll call them, are hydropower, water supply, and flood control, recreation and fish and wildlife are just as important to the Corps of Engineers as those other missions.
Gotcha.
Which is good to hear from an angler standpoint, especially from the economical impact it has on the local area from tournament fishing and recreational fishermen as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we hit, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
So we hit about 1.8 to 1.9 million visitors a year out here to Sam Rayburn, and a lot of that draw is the fishermen.
Sure.
Folks want to come out and get on the water and camp. So we're just as cognizant that, there's a huge economic driver to having this lake out here in Deep East Texas.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So did you, McGee, I kind of want to circle back to that. Why was it called McGee? Is that the name of the creek or something that
I believe one of the creeks that fed into here was McGee, or
Okay.
as part of the Angelina River, it was McGee Bend.
I got you.
Wherever the lake was originally built.
I got
Who
you.
McGee is, I have no clue.
No idea who McGee is.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. Who put the boat lanes in? Do you know?
The boat lane.
Yeah, so
in the
like,
lake.
where they've mowed it out. Was that done prior to the lake filling up?
I believe so. That may be a question for Cody. I don't know off the top of my head, but usually whenever we would build the reservoir, we'd go in ahead of time and do a lot of timber harvesting.
Sure.
Right.
So yeah, it could be they conceptualized that we're going to need some boat lanes through all these thick forests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's incredible how much timber's still standing.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
there is.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty interesting little history lesson there about Sam Rayburn. Another thing I want to talk to you guys about is the ramps and some of the other projects that you guys have coming up. So fire away.
Yeah, absolutely. So just this past year, obviously, I think everybody knows that we hit pretty high water. We actually set a record pool level. We measure by feet above mean sea level. So our normal pool is 164.4, and we hit 175.35.
Wow.
Which almost the top of the spillway is 176. So the uncontrolled spillway over by Ebenezer. So we were just about there. Some of the big waves were kind of lapping over.
Yeah, we saw some videos of that.
I remember that. Yeah.
Everything on the dam, everything about the spillway worked as designed. We had folks out here 24 hours a day, checking everything to make sure it was all good, but no issues there. But it did create quite a bit of havoc on those boat ramps.
Sure.
So we'll take Public over by Humphreys, for example, the most popular boat ramp on the lake.
Yeah,
Correct.
Up till once we get to elevation 172, I believe it was, that lake or that ramp can stay open. It's all about where the concrete meets the asphalt.
Yeah.
So as soon as that water comes up onto the asphalt, that base gets saturated under there, the asphalt gets real soft, and then any boats launching on there, even just a small truck, will start tearing that up.
Sure.
With not shut down the boat ramps, it makes a safety hazard, and then it also increases the repair cost
Okay.
to keep that open. So we always have to make that hard decision once the water gets up so high that we need to shut it down. Now, thankfully, at Public this last year, we just had a contractor come in and extend that boat ramp. I believe the elevation now is up to 176 and a half.
Okay.
So if we have the same historic flood event like we just did this last year, that boat ramp will stay open.
Heck yes.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good news.
That's great news because, that was not good. How much heat did you catch over that?
It was daily calls. At least.
daily calls.
We had, and it's, the constituents, right? Like we had congressionals with it, working with state and federal level senators.
Wow.
It's part of doing business. We have to make those hard calls sometimes. That was the last boat ramp to close down. The rest of the boat ramps closed way earlier than that. Mm-hmm. All of our campgrounds except one were closed down. Like I said, we have all these missions, we have all these purposes, and they all are kind of take precedent at certain times of the year and certain emergencies. So once we get up to that level, our entire staff switches to flood fight and making sure that the dam is safe, making sure the spillway is operating as designed. So we have to pull away from that recreation, and unfortunately, a lot of that is flooding out the campgrounds, flooding out the boat ramps, and just having to close them down.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate position to be in for sure. I mean, I kind of felt bad for you guys. I knew you guys weren't like, let's flood the lake and shut everything down and piss everybody off.
Yeah.
No, and I was very happy that we were able to get in there. I believe we got it open by 4th of July, probably like the day before.
Yeah.
So our maintenance crew busted their butt. They got out there, fixed some of the major potholes that happened, was able to do some repair on the sides to make it safe to use, and at least we were able to get it open for a holiday.
Yeah. So how bad were you guys like sweating it when it was starting to splash over the spillway? Was it like panic mode, or you guys
it's never panic. Collected? No, and like I said, everything was operating as was designed. We had folks out there, doing at least hourly checks, making sure, walking the spillway, making sure we're not seeing any unusual cracking, anything really out of the ordinary.
Sure.
No, it's it's never a good feeling. It's a lot of, I've got sleepless nights over it, making sure my guys that are out here and gals are out here overnight, 24/7, that they're being safe with what they're doing, and they're not getting burned out. So it was a lot of hours worked is the biggest thing.
Sure.
Just making sure that everybody's safe.
So that spillway wasn't always there, was it, originally?
No, so that spillway, the new, what they call a labyrinth spillway, was rebuilt.
This is Ebenezer side.
This is over by Ebenezer.
Yeah,
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was rebuilt, I think, in the early 2000s.
Okay.
So originally it used to be just a straight across berm, essentially.
Yeah.
We hit high water late 90s, if I remember right. Don't quote me on the dates.
Sure, no
problem. But it was found, there would be so much force from the water if it was ever to go over with a straight berm across there that then they went in and actually, I'm sure, if folks are not supposed to boat up to it, but if you've boated up to it or seen aerial footage, it's kind of a zigzag going through there. So that'll help dissipate some of the energy coming over the spillway, but it essentially gives us the same surface area as we did with that straight berm across that spillway channel.
Oh, I got you. That makes sense. Yeah. So when they put that in, what happens? You hear all kinds of horror stories, man. You guys were, it's all rumors, of course, but what would theoretically happen if the water goes over? Where does that water go?
Well, so it depends on how high the water gets.
Sure.
So you can essentially follow the spillway channel over that culvert going into Ebenezer Park. It'll wrap back around to 255. There are a few culverts there that can handle some, but once we get to that point, we know what we call a spillway event is imminent,
Yeah.
255 would be closed down. So we don't
And
want
wash out.
It potentially could, depending on how high the water gets and how much is spilling over. So once we get to that point, and even in this event, our forecasting never showed that we would have the spillway event.
Sure.
But, we're working with county emergency management, state emergency management.
Gotcha.
Our emergency management out of Fort Worth is coordinating with everybody. So there's plans in place in the event that ever happens.
That makes sense. So would it have sort of a siphon effect? Like once water would start to crest, would it kind of continue to pull water? You know what I'm talking about?
It is what's that word?
Or would the zigzags kind of prevent that?
Yeah, so there'll still be some, I can't remember what the scientific word for that is. But essentially, so water, once it starts over, will create like surface tension and be able to pull itself over. No, so the labyrinth will help with that. Sure, you could get some of it potentially, but once the water gets so high and the lake level is above that 176, it's going to spill until it gets below that 176.
Yeah.
So once we're able to draw the lake down below 176, it's going to stop. It's not going to continually pull back over there.
So I had also heard some rumors, you're going to hear that a lot in this episode, that you guys were considering like, well, we're not going to let it go of a spillway. We're going to dump this sucker. We're going to flood the Natchez.
So with our water control manual, once we're getting up close to 176, we have to look downstream as exactly what the Natchez is doing. I believe in kind of ties into what the Sabine is doing.
Sure.
So as long as they can handle a little bit more water downstream, we're authorized to pass some water through the floodgates of our powerhouse.
Okay.
But that's always cognizant of what's happening downstream as well.
Sure.
So I think we were able to up our releases a little bit through our floodgates. They weren't open. We didn't go up there and just wide open, just let it out.
No, for sure. I just heard that, if it were to become a spillway event, like you called it, that you guys would just say, hey, look, everybody below us, get ready.
It would happen, hey, everybody get ready would happen way before it spilled over. It wouldn't just be, hold my beer and watch this. But so either if it goes over the spillway or if it goes through the floodgates, it's going no matter what.
Oh, that's cool.
But like I said, way before that happens, we've alerted all the emergency management downstream. If there's any evacuations that have to happen, those have already happened. It's never a thought just to, let's see what we can dump down the Natchez.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Godspeed below you. Because so it flows into the Natchez, which then flows into Dam B, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So flows into the Angelina, and then right above the Angelina, the Natchez and the Angelina come together and form a bigger Natchez.
Yeah, that's right.
And then Dam B essentially is what we call a re-regulation lake, I believe. Just passes what comes from the Natchez and what comes from out of the powerhouse, and just smooths it out.
Okay. Gotcha.
They have I want to say they only have usually 2 to 3 feet of freeboard to be able to go up and down.
Okay. Yeah. It's a much shallower, flatter lake.
Correct. Yeah.
Definitely.
Gotcha. So I want to circle back to the ramp. So you've improved public so that this will never happen again, obviously, because, and I guess I'm assuming, I'm going to make assumptions here, that you chose that ramp first because of the amount of events that go out of there. Or its popularity?
Yeah, it's just the usage.
Okay.
So mostly usage is there, and we feel, at that point in time, to be able to keep that open, that's where our priority would be.
Yeah, makes sense.
For at least to have somewhere. Now, yes, then we'll have to close down most everything up north, which we'll start slowly, systematically, doing this and increasing these concrete aprons around all the boat ramps.
So that's the plan, is to increase concrete aprons so that eventually high water event, we can keep everything open?
As best as we can. So some areas, if you go up north to, let's say, Hanks Creek, that ramp is so shallow into the parking lot that we're going to have to pour at 2,000 cubic yards of concrete. And it's just not cost effective at that point.
Right.
So we try to balance, where the usage is versus the cost associated with it. But we did public, and then we also did San Augustine, got extended as well.
Okay. Twin Dykes?
So Twin Dykes Campground, we have to do we're actually, with the infrastructure bill that was passed, we're going to be doing some repairs to the ramps themselves. So that one,
that
one out on the point has been closed for quite a while. It's starting to cavitate.
Sure.
We're actually going to have kind of a foam jacking crew come in and kind of like they do with your foundation is do the same thing. It's just level that out. Again, Twin Dykes the concrete can't get extended too far because it's pretty much right at the parking lot right now.
Sure.
Right.
So unless you're going to concrete the entire parking lot,
go for it.
You guys find some money for me. We would love to.
So you will, like you mentioned, you will be working up north to work on some of those ramps as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Throughout the course of the year, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, it's a long. We have to.
Yeah,
we budget 3-4 years out.
Okay.
And then it depends on if we
3 to 4 years out.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've got in place. We've got a 5-year plan of this is what we're going to be doing for the next 5 years, and then we have longer term conceptual 10-year plans that say this is what we would like to see here, here, here.
Jeez.
As long as the money comes in, we can get work done.
Is there any room for amendments there? If you're
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
okay.
So it's a living, breathing document.
I got you.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we get a flood again, I may have some priorities that then maybe those priorities didn't get wrecked by a flood. Some others did, so they need to get moved up.
Right.
Yeah,
that makes
absolutely.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Did you ever see Twin Dykes when the water was over the parking lot and people were out there using like Rattlesnake Island?
Oh yeah.
All the boats out there floating in the parking lot, people standing
yeah.
like waist deep water, like just having the time of their lives.
Yeah, I think it's pretty popular there over at Twin Dykes. Ebenezer, down they've got a swim beach there.
Yeah.
Folks were using that parking lot. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Man, I wonder if people smoked their lower units on that iron beam that's like right there. That couldn't have been very far into the surface, but
The good thing is there's a lot of trees and a lot of vegetation around most of Twin Dykes. So as long as they stayed away from those, but yeah, I don't think we heard of any major accidents, but I know we don't hear about 95% of them.
they're not going to admit that. They're going to be like, I was trying to go anchor down in the parking lot.
Yeah, they're
smoke my lower unit. No, that's some other projects that we had a brief conversation before starting this episode. I think you guys had talked about maybe some kayak ramps.
Yeah, so we've got a partnership with Jasper County Sheriff's Office. They're going to be working with us, and we're going to install kayak launches at, I believe, Mill Creek, San Augustine, and I want to say Hanks Creek. We talked about public, just the amount of motorboat traffic through there wouldn't necessarily be conducive to also add in a kayak launch. In the future, what we would like to do is add in a totally separate dock for kayak launching, because I probably see at least 2 or 3 or 4 launching out of there a week. Shoreline access is a little bit of an issue there. So we'll be actually improving that, would be the east side of the ramp.
I got you.
As well. But yeah, so we're doing the kayak launches. Right now we have contractors up at Rayburn Park, and we've had a boat ramp there that is cavitated as well. So they're working on re-armoring that one, and we'll get that back open as well. So we'll have a couple more lanes up there for folks to launch out of. That's a little more protected and not as exposed as the point is.
Sure.
Where the boat ramp is right now. Long term, so like I mentioned, we got some flood repair money from the infrastructure plan. So we'll be actually working over in Twin Dykes, relocating some campsites, upgrading some of the facilities in there,
Very
upgrading
cool.
some of the facilities in Mill Creek. Rayburn Park is essentially going to get redone, all new pads, new electric, open up some new sites. So yeah, this next year or two for the Corps out here at Rayburn is going to be really busy.
Well, that's good. That's good. It's good to hear that you guys are looking at all that, because a lot of times we hear it all the time, dock talk, and we've talked about this, that everybody thinks that you guys don't necessarily care about the recreational fishermen and people coming out here to hang out, but that's really not the case. So that's why we wanted to have you on here and give you an opportunity to kind of voice what's really going on behind the scenes. So
yeah, I'm very, like I said, we're very cognizant about who our user group is.
sure.
We would not be out here. We would not have as many folks out here if not for folks coming out to use the
Use
the
the
public
lake.
land.
Yeah,
and
for
that's
sure.
what it's here for, is for the public to enjoy.
Sure. Can I use this time to put in a request? How about a
Absolutely.
T-dock at the Twin Dykes boat ramp?
A T-dock?
Yeah, because that one, there's like nowhere to pull up.
So what we're looking at doing is between the two ramps, building a wave break or a type of dike
Sure.
to be able to block. So the problem there is you got so much exposure from the north and from the west from any wind.
Yeah.
So trying to put a dock out there, I think they did have one at one time, just broke
destroyed
off.
it.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is planning on building a wave break between. There's a little mouth between the two ramps and then put a dock out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, all you gotta do is ask, Wyatt.
I don't know what you got on the next one, but I don't know what topic you got next. But speaking of the dock thing, like I know a lot of people talk about homeowners around the lake wanting docks on the lake. I'm sure this was going to be brought up, but I just wanted to, since we already talked about the dock. Yeah, you know, a lot of people kind of I guess they don't understand why they can't build docks on their lakefront property or whatever. Is there a specific reasoning for that, or? I mean, just because I know a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a great question. I did want to ask that about, you know, kind of development, and that kind of flows into future developments on the water. What makes this lake unique like that you guys are really kind of holding the core, which I personally appreciate that.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I don't want this lake turning into Conroe.
Yeah.
We don't want to see bulkheads and permanent docks and any nonsense like that. So sorry for those of you that were hoping for that.
Yeah, so actually last year, whenever we were under our high water event, the team went out, Corps of Engineers and staff went out and actually did an inventory of, all the docks that were illegally placed, any what we call encroachment, so essentially like adjacent landowner coming onto private or public property. That's a good ringtone.
Yeah.
Yellowstone.
He's a big Yellowstone guy.
But yeah, those adjacent landowners that are directly across from public property have came on and, maybe they've just put a bird bath on us, or maybe they've built a fire pit, or maybe they have the corner of a house, or maybe the corner of a shop.
Yeah.
Went and did an entire inventory of the lake. I believe it was 600, 700, what we'd call deep encroachments on public property were found. So starting the process now of getting a hold of those adjacent landowners. So if you see a letter coming in the mail here pretty soon, that's what we're going to be talking about.
Not this guy. I didn't do it.
Specifically to the dock. So, right now we're kind of formulating a plan. And whenever the lake was built, there was not the amount of folks that lived, or there was just not the amount of population in the region.
Right.
You build a lake, they're going to come to it.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was not conceived of whenever the lake was built to have a shoreline plan for folks to be able to install docks. Big reason out here is it is a flood control lake, and so we can fluctuate quite a bit.
Yeah.
What they did allow originally was roll in, roll out docks. As long as they're on wheels, you can put them out, launch a boat, stay there for the weekend, no longer than 48 hours, and pull it out.
Okay.
I believe early 2011, 2012, they updated what we call our shoreline management policy statement that said those are no longer allowed. Well, it was never enforced.
Yeah.
And so over the years, it's proliferated. I mean, we see a lot of them out there. Most of them are the non-permanent roll-in, roll-out type.
But they just leave them
They just leave them there.
Yeah,
Exactly that.
I've seen those. Yeah, I was about to say.
So soon we'll get a hold of these adjacent landowners, and essentially how we're going to treat them for now is
jail time.
yes. Yeah, we're going to start working with them, and we're going to go back to the we have authority, and I'm not going to quote authority and where it is and everything, but essentially if you don't leave it out there for more than 48 hours and it's transient use, pull it out after the weekend, and we won't at this point in time start pursuing that. We've got so many encroachments that are kind of a bigger issue in my mind.
Makes sense.
We're going to start addressing those and then work towards what our final whatever our resolution or our path forward is on the docks.
Gotcha.
So more to come, I guess would be the right word.
More to come. So speaking of development, so there's all this buzz about the new owners of Rayburn Country, and I believe they just recently acquired the lease for, was it Sam Rayburn Marina? Yep. And so, and if you can't, no big deal. They may not want us to give away all their secrets yet, but were they given permission to put a sort of a windbreak as well out there to protect those floating docks?
Yeah. So I don't know if working through our real estate division that actually leases the land, the authority to lease the land, working with the lake.
Sure.
I believe they're this week or next week they should be getting their permission, final permission to put out that wave break and then reinstall the docks and fix the bulkhead along the wherever they used to have their offices right there.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, because it's nice to have at least one decent marina, especially on this end of the lake with all the recreational boaters. And I think I've lived here for 6 years now, and I've seen those things float away twice. And they were in Bob Seeley's backyard. I think last year. So I'm sure those guys want to get a handle on that. I'm sure you guys do too. You don't want those big giant metal structures out there floating around the lake.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it being one of the few marinas all the way here on the south side, definitely serves a major purpose. And so, yeah.
Well, glad to hear you guys are on board with that. So, as far as touching on the future developments, I mean, is there any chance that this lake in the future will turn into Lake Conroe?
I don't want to never say never, but no, there's no, no. You can't ever predict 20, 30, 40 years down the road.
Sure, when we're all gone and somebody else is in charge. Sure.
But as long as you're standing.
Yeah, no. So the purpose of the lake is for the public to use. It's not, in my mind, it's not for the land was purchased with taxpayer dollars, and we're not here for the private adjacent landowners' benefit. Now, if they build on the private land, that's more than welcome. We'll be great neighbors.
Sure.
We'll work together. But, you like to see it as, we're your neighbor. And would you go across your neighbor's land and install something on your neighbor's private property? Mm-hmm. Would you install a dock on your neighbor's
That's pond? A good way to look at that.
That's a good point.
So, yeah, that's a big, Sam Rayburn was not designed. The soil isn't there. It's not proper to have a real large development around the entire lake.
Yeah. They'd have an issue anyway with the water fluctuation.
Yeah, yes. Absolutely.
So, circling back to the water fluctuation. So, the hydroelectric generators, there's 2 currently?
Correct. Yep.
Any plans? I'm sure there's been an increased demand in power supply. Any pressure on you guys to kind of increase that, or any plans to increase that?
The number of generators?
Number of generators, or more electricity to be generated?
More power, yeah.
So we work with Southwestern Power Authority.
Okay.
To regulate the grid, essentially. So as needed, and they require us to have input, we work with them. I couldn't tell you if we've, within the past 5-10 years, been asked to generate more.
Okay.
I can get you that answer for sure.
Well, no, I was just curious because I thought, with the whole power issue we had last year with the freeze and all that, I didn't know if they were like, hey, man, we need to crank it up.
Well, the freeze is a great example of the, the resiliency of that hydropower portion, the powerhouse.
Yeah.
They were able to, up their output to be able to, as much as possible, stabilize, especially in this area. So kind of keep some of the critical infrastructure, your hospitals.
That makes sense.
The sheriff's office, stuff like that, being able to provide.
Tackle addict.
Yep. I'm pretty sure that was on the list. Yeah. But no, those are, again, another group of folks down the hill from us up at the lake office that they just bust their butt.
Sure.
And, they're doing, great work down there.
Absolutely. Well, man, we have another really big topic, and you were kind enough to bring us a specialist. I'm going to call you a specialist.
That is a great way to put it. Actually, that is in his title.
Yeah. So if you kind of want to introduce it, we wanted to kind of, and I think this is going to take up some time too, because this is a big hot topic among bass fishermen and everybody around the lake. The spraying of Salvinia and the current state of hydrilla or lack thereof. So if you want to kind of introduce the man, we may swap you out. And before you go, I really appreciate your time. I honestly didn't expect you to come. I thought you'd be like, nah, man, I got bigger things to do.
No, y'all, anytime. And I know you all you can help us kind of get our message out there. That's one thing that the Corps is, I'd say, sometimes not great at, is working with our partners, our stakeholders, and those that are interested in what we're doing around the lake. So I greatly appreciate it. Yeah. So able to bring along, Cody Turner was able to make some time in his day. So I am the lake manager at Sam Rayburn. Cody oversees the what we call the environmental program. He's an environmental specialist for the Piney Woods region. So essentially all the core lakes in East Texas.
Sure.
He oversees, some of the invasive species work we do, some of the endangered species work we do, and then some of the environmental compliance. So he's got a very broad, big mission, but he's very knowledgeable and knows this stuff in depth. So figured he'd be much better at explaining it than I am.
Yeah, we'll swap him out. But I'm I'm going to put your cell phone number on the bottom of the screen so people can call you and complain directly to you. Is that cool?
Thanks, 867-5309.
Just like,
Not much.
man, I really appreciate your time. Dude. Yeah,
Much
man.
appreciated.
Look forward to talking to you again.
Let's switch.
We're going to do a little swap out here with the specialist.
The freaking grass master.
Yeah, man. Get in here. Come get in this hot seat. Are you ready? This is going to hurt. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Hope you're okay sharing ear wax, little ear juice with your. Well,
let's give the man a chance to introduce himself.
Yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself and repeat kind of what you do.
Okay. I'm Cody Turner. I'm with the Corps of Engineers. I'm stationed here at Lake Sam Rayburn, but as Reece mentioned, I am a regional employee for our Piney Woods region, so I cover 5 different projects.
Okay.
I've been in this position for about 2.5 years now. I started off as a ranger here at Lake Sam Rayburn, was a ranger at Town Bluff, and kind of learned the vegetation program down there.
Okay.
And then kind of rolled right into this position. So, yeah, I've been in this position for about 2.5 years now.
And so you say you manage some other projects. Is that like other lakes or just?
Yeah, so our environmental, it's at every project. That's just something that I've got to do.
Yeah.
Of course, the vegetation side of it is mainly on the southern lakes. We have it at Town Bluff, Danby. We have it here. We have it at Lake of the Pines. So those 3 lakes on the main lake. Wright Patman, actually, last year we indicated some down below the dam in the Old River Channel. So 4 out of the 5 projects has the Giant Salvinia.
Okay. So, I guess a little history, if you can, about the Giant Salvinia, kind of where it came from, how we figured out it's invasive, what kind of initiated the whole, that's bad, we got to kill it.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly kind of where it started.
Sure.
In Texas. It came from, I believe, South Asia.
Okay.
But it's been an issue on our lakes since 2005, 2006.
Sure.
I know mainly at DMB they started with the water hyacinth, more so than the Giant Salvinia. I think there was some common Salvinia, which I was still in high school at that time. I wasn't even with the Corps at that point, but they started a program to where they started treating it, mainly from spraying applications, herbicide applications. And so it started with spraying for the water hyacinth, and then Salvinia became present, I believe, pretty heavy in 2007.
Sure.
And that kind of took off.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone listening has seen old pictures, have been on the lake trying to fish on Danby when the vegetation was so bad, but there's pictures of the complete, what we call the West Log Jam, out from the northwest section of the lake. The whole open water that's open now was a complete mat of vegetation.
Wow. I've seen it pretty matted over, I think.
I'm about to say up the Atoyac arm, all the way above that 103 bridge there. I've seen it pretty bad up there.
And that was Giant Salvinia mixed with hyacinth as well, kind of a mixture of that surface vegetation?
Yeah, so I believe on Rayburn we mostly have a problem with the Giant Salvinia. We do have a presence of the water hyacinth, but it doesn't take hold like the Salvinia does on this lake.
Yeah. So I guess the original idea that it was a problem was just its rapid growth and how it kind of takes over, suffocates a waterway essentially.
Yeah, rapid growth. So basically, you've all probably heard that without any treatment whatsoever, it can double in size in less than 7 days in the main part of the growing season. And down here in southeast Texas, we have a 9 to sometimes 12-month growing season.
Yeah. Whoa! I knew it grew rapidly. I just didn't know
Doubles in size.
To what extent? I knew it grew.
Yeah,
even in deep water.
So of
I
course
guess
the plant itself will only get so big, but say you have a cove and it's got half an acre come March 1st, and it's starting to grow. Water temp gets just right. you don't have a presence of weevils. You haven't sprayed it yet. Half an acre out there. So 7 days later, that's a full acre. 7 days after that, that's 2 acres.
7 days.
7 days or less.
Man, that's crazy.
And
Whoa.
of course, lake level, so many environmental factors come into play with that.
Right.
But yeah, with under the right conditions, less than 7 days. It doubles
Sure.
in size.
I mean, do you feel like it's mostly a backwater thing? Because I would think that once it got out to the main lake, with wind and water movement, it would probably struggle to grow. Just in my mind, I'm not a very smart person, so I mean, once it gets out once it kind of reaches that main lake perimeter, will it not kind of just lock itself out, like it won't be able to reproduce as fast because it's getting blown around, or not necessarily the case?
Hopefully, we never get to that point.
Gotcha.
That's the goal. But
Gotcha.
yeah, so you can see on lakes that, take Caddo, for instance, there's so many backwater areas. Most of the entire lake is backwater. And it's going to have a pretty heavy presence of Salvinia.
Sure.
Whereas on our lake, we do have quite a bit of the open water. Now, wave action, our very few freezes that we get can help control that.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to Danby, the whole open water West Logjam section, it was a complete locked-in mat. You could almost walk across it, from what I've heard.
Yeah. Wow. I'm sure if it was to make it to the main lake, even on Rayburn, for example, the wind starts blowing around into each pocket, and then it can just spread from there.
I can definitely see it take over.
Yeah, because I've seen it in main lake just floating around randomly. So, used to see that. I don't see it as much anymore.
Yeah, so it's a floating plant. So wherever the wind takes it, water takes it, it's going to be there. And you take that one pod from up north above the Atoyac, for instance, and it flows down. You didn't get to that, and it flowed down. Say we had a lot of flow during one of our wet seasons, and it gets below 147. Gets pushed up into Harvey Creek. That one pod turns into a lot of vegetation.
Got you.
In that pocket. So that's the main goal, is trying to keep it isolated where it's always going to be. You're never going to get rid of it.
That's what I was about to ask. I was just going to ask you that. Will you ever get rid of it all? It's pretty much a no.
I don't ever see getting rid of it.
It's like a cancer.
Just keeps coming downstream.
Yeah. I kind of figured that.
So you said something earlier. You said, was it a weevil?
A weevil.
A weevil. What is a weevil?
So I don't know the scientific name or anything, but it's a bug. And the way I explain it to people is, say you leave a can or a box of flour or cornmeal or something like that in the back of your pantry.
Yep.
And you pull it out one day, and then you get that little black bug in there. Looks exactly the same.
Okay.
So there's a weevil that grows on Giant Salvinia only, and what actually happens, they eat on the plant a little bit, but they lay their eggs in the stem of the plant. As the larvae mature, they eat on the rhizome, and that's what actually kills the plant.
Okay. So why don't we just put weevils in the lake?
We do.
You do?
We do.
Get out of here.
We have a program. We team up with LERF, Louisville Aquatic Engineering Research Facility. So they actually grow salvinia in a tank and grow weevils in that salvinia. Once the numbers reach a certain population, we relocate that material out on the lake into certain designated areas. So that's one source that we get our weevils. TPWD, they grow weevils and put them out on their lakes.
I had no idea, man. These guys are putting bugs out here.
I'm Team Weevil right now.
Do weevils eat hydrilla?
There is a bug that controls hydrilla.
Get rid of that one.
I mean, not hydrilla, hyacinth.
Hyacinth. Okay.
Yeah.
So these are surface bugs. They don't.
Yeah.
I know they're aquatic, but they don't like swim down like.
No.
Okay.
Like the Salvinia weevil, it only lives on Giant Salvinia.
Okay.
Weevil, baby. I'm Team Weevil.
Team Weevil.
So actually, pretty exciting. We just signed an MOU in place with TPWD that we're going to actually, on one of our closed parks on Danby, we're going to install a new weevil facility that'll just help with the number of weevils that we put out each year. Just last week I went down to an LMVA canal, and they had a spot that had some salvinia hung up, and they pulled some samples, counted the weevils. Weevils was 55-ish per kilogram, so we went down and grabbed some of that material. With the amount of material that I estimated that I relocated on our lake, I estimated we put out over 20,000 weevils just last week.
Wow. I think we need to get a picture of that bug and get an outline of it, put it on a hat, and put Team Weevil.
Team Weevil.
And we'll make that.
We'll talk about that. Don't give them ideas.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Man, I had no idea. I was just like totally joking. You should put weevils out there. So is there any chance that could control the problem? Probably not. Probably need way too many bugs. They probably don't eat it fast enough.
Not by itself. So
Okay.
weevils are a good presence.
Sure.
But the only way to really control its rapid growth is with herbicide.
Herbicide. All right.
And we take the approach of doing both weevils and herbicide to keep it controlled.
Sure.
Into those areas that kind of where it comes from.
Well, we touched on that, so that's going to be probably one of our bigger topics is the spraying of.
Yeah, that's a bad word here in Captain Ron Studios. Herbicide. We don't like that word as fishermen. So explain to the folks at home here what herbicide we're talking about.
So the only thing we spray is aquatic safe herbicide, and of course that's tested. It's gone through extensive testing procedures. There's warnings. We always follow the label on the herbicide label, and we've been doing this, believe it or not, like I said, for the past 10 years, since 2005, 2006. Now, we've learned some things since then. We've learned some things, but our approach, our attack, what we spray, when we spray, how we spray it, has always basically kind of been the same.
Okay.
A few tweaks here and there. So we've been doing this for the past, like I said, over 10 years, managing this stuff.
I got you.
Well, you know that these fishermen out here, they those dang guys spraying the grass are ruining all the hydrilla.
Oh yeah, you got to Texas bass.
We kind of want to get your thoughts on that. Like, tell us more about that.
Yeah, elaborate on aquatic safe. I think would be a good starting place.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm not a biologist. TPWD has some really great. They put out some really good, I guess, technical analysis on some of the stuff that has happened in the state over the past 5 years. I'm sure you could all search that and read that. Some really good information. But as far as hydrilla, it's a submerged plant. The stuff we spray is a floating plant, so that's completely two different rates. You have an injection treatment, and then you have a surface application treatment. We always go by the surface application treatment. We have contractors. First off, the way our program works is we partner with TPWD, us, the Corps, and LMVA to control the presence of invasive species. So everyone's on the same page kind of with what we do and why we do it. And so we use the glyphosate during the growing season, and that rate is a 1% or less. So the contractors out there, they're in airboats. I'm sure y'all have all seen them, but they have a 100-gallon tank in their boat. They put 98 3/4 gallons of water in that tank.
Sure.
1 gallon or less of glyphosate and your surfactant.
Okay.
And that sprays 1 acre of material, target material.
Are these guys armed? Do you arm them for their personal safety?
I have no clue on that. I don't do anything.
Has there ever been an attack?
I have not heard of an attack. There's been a couple instances where someone has tried to, say, get their attention, and a firearm was pulled and discharged to get their attention. A little bit a bit scary, but
these Rayburn guys are different, man.
Y'all crazy out there.
Crazy, man.
And that's just a story I can't confirm.
Right. I believe it.
I believe it.
I totally believe it.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are out there just making a paycheck.
And they're doing their job.
Yeah, they're doing their job. They have seen what can happen to a lake without management.
Got you.
I'll just put it that way. So they know what they're doing. They go through the proper training. They're trained through all the state programs. They're licensed to be out there. I'm the one that basically tells them what to spray, when to spray, and what rate to use.
Got you.
And then I do the follow-up surveys and say, okay, we need to retreat this area, and I call them back out.
Got you.
So the spraying is not affecting the hydrilla pretty much is.
No, I've seen the Facebook posts. There's posts about 20 foot of water. The bottom 5 feet of that had hydrilla last year, and there's nothing there.
I'd like to know where that spot was. 20 foot of water hydrilla. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah.
I know it used to grow out that way, but not since I've been on the lake.
You know,
well, the past 5 years we've flooded basically at some point in time. Now the timing has been a little different, but we've been in flood stage, I believe, almost every year in the past 5 years.
Right, and I think that's what it is. But I mean, just to clarify for the guys that are thinking that the spraying is killing the hydrilla,
it is not.
It is not.
It is not. No.
So y'all chill out.
That would take
quit firing
injection treatment. That would really.
When you say injection, that means that goes in the water.
Well, it's enough chemical compound for the math calculation of depth and surface.
Yeah.
Okay.
Area.
Way over my head.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's labeled rates. There's labeled rates for injection treatments, but that takes way more than that 1% mixture that we're doing.
Yeah. So that 1% rate, not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
It's not happening, folks. Stop shooting at the poor people out there trying to spray some Salvinia.
What's y'all's deal, man?
Take it easy.
What is y'all's deal? Because you hear that, of course, we've already talked about the spray killing the hydrilla, but you also hear the rumors, those guys, they're getting paid by the gallon, and that's why they're out there spraying all the time.
Go to the boat ramp, dump all their stuff out right there at the boat ramp, go home.
Yeah.
Definitely not. No.
Yeah, you hear that stuff, and I think a lot of people that are, somewhat reasonable and fish the lake a lot and kind of have paid attention to the flooding and kind of the more, I would say, obvious reasons why the hydrilla probably is lacking.
So what do you think attributes, and I don't know how much time you spent, if you're even concerned with the state of the hydrilla, but obviously it's pretty poor out there. You think that's a combination of freeze and high water, or?
I don't know what a freeze would do to it, but definitely high water. I mean, you put 10 plus foot of water over, say, 5 foot of water, and it had hydrilla in it. Mm-hmm. You put 10 foot of water on top of that. If you get any kind of murkiness or even just the water itself, it no longer reaches sunlight. Well, if you have a submerged plant that doesn't get sunlight, what's going to happen?
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to go. Because, I never got to see this, but you hear these stories of Rayburn having 20 foot of water mad at hydrilla.
Yeah.
That is just, on the Caney flats, on the...
Need more.
On all those flats out there around Mud Creek, the Black Forest.
All of it.
You hear about those stories, back in the day about this hydrilla. And I know you said you're not a biologist or whatever, but I think a lot of guys always kind of question, will we ever see those days again?
We're due for a drought one day.
Yeah.
So 2011 we had a drought.
He said it.
Right?
He said it.
We had a drought.
Correct.
That helps that seed bank get reestablished.
Okay.
So if we go into a low level condition during the growing season, this lake is going to look completely different.
Right.
Yeah.
And it always
comes back up.
It's always changing.
But going back to the flood control lake, we're gonna rise, we're gonna fall. It's just the nature of the beast.
What if, while y'all are putting the weebles out, y'all put some hydrilla back out? I know we already established you're not the reason that the hydrilla is not there. It's not your fault. I'm glad we got that cleared up. But Any chance? Boss man?
Yeah.
There you go.
So
Let's get that in the 3 to 4 year budget.
I didn't know how that works either. I like work hand in hand with the biologist over at Texas Parks and Wildlife, or no? That doesn't really.
Has that ever been done?
Yeah, so TPWD they manage the fisheries in the water.
Okay.
They own the vegetation, the fish. That's their side of
So
things.
that would be the conversation to have with those guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We'll pass it off to them.
There you go.
Who is
Driscoll is
Todd?
the head
Todd Driscoll.
of, I don't know.
He's something.
He's the fisheries biologist, I believe.
Okay.
So he would be the guy.
Like over everything or just this location?
At least a region. I don't know how big his region.
But definitely Rayburn.
Yeah.
Definitely Rayburn. Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming.
Well, he likes to fish. Surely he likes hydrilla.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Come on, man.
We've had that conversation.
Come on, Driscoll. Let's get some smallmouth in here too while we're at it.
I mean, until you get that low level condition, getting it established again. When we do go into a low level condition during the growing season, and it gets that sunlight, and it takes off, give it a year or two, as long as we don't have a
flood.
Another flood.
Yeah, 10, 15 flood water.
But you
on
mean a
top
drought
of it.
as in like, because the lake's been low for a little while now.
Yeah, so
but you mean like
we're low right now. We're what, 4 foot low or so.
So I got it. This is really easy fix, guys. We're way overcomplicating this.
Here we go.
Draw it down. 10, 11 foot low. Just let it go.
We're almost to springtime.
Yeah, just let it go. Let's keep it low for however long the seed bank needs to generate, and then you can bring it back up. Deal?
I don't think they can just bring it back up.
Yeah, they just shut everything off, and then the Angeline will fill it up. Don't let anything out. Just that easy, right? Problem solved. And I'm sure that's your main concern is the status of hydrilla in the lake. That's,
If I want to interject, I don't want to swing in.
I do. Come on, jump in.
Go ahead. Go right here.
You know, the big problem is the managing at scale, like you just touched on. It's called Big Sam for a reason, and we can work some things where we will do. I have before worked like millet seeding in kind of some mud flats for duck habitat and stuff like that. But to try to reestablish something that we wouldn't have any control, because then if we throw out that seed and then we flood again, like it just goes nowhere. So that
Total waste
goes
of
down the
resources
drain.
and funds.
Our resources go towards controlling those invasives that shouldn't be here in the first place, that affect that could potentially affect that native habitat.
Gotcha.
So
I see that. Okay.
Yeah, and going back to that point, I mean,
Thank you, sir.
if you don't control the invasive, you think of that hundreds of acres that are out there. There's not going to be any more.
No hydrilla under
in the
there.
water. Yeah, it's going
Right.
to choke it out. So all these people that are saying stop spraying on the lake, you would hate to see what would happen.
What it
after
would
that.
do to the water content.
I've
out
actually
there.
caught him flipping some Giant Salvinia mats.
No, that's probably the hyacinth.
No, it was Giant Salvinia.
You don't even know.
I promise you it was.
You're not a
It was
specialist.
up
He's
there.
a specialist.
It was up there at Toyak. I caught him flipping it. They just use it as. I'm sure the fish are just using it as like a little shadow.
Sure.
What if there's no edge though?
No, exactly. Exactly.
Well, man, that's there you have it. The juice. That was it. Like that's the juice. The juicy part is it's not killing it.
Yeah. So
We brought in the guy.
the
guys.
You got anything else you want to say to all these?
You want to let some steam off to
Yeah, all
all the
these
people
guys.
that have been cussing you for the last couple of years
No,
for no reason?
Like I said, I'm new in this position, so over the past 2 years, I've just been seeing some of the Facebook posts, and hopefully stuff like this, getting the word out, getting out what's actually happening, why we do what we do, and no, we're not out there to spray everything, turn it into, as you called it, Lake Conroe earlier.
Have you ever been there?
Never been on
It's
the
a
water.
terrible place.
I've heard of it. But
It's got some big bass
It's got
in it.
giant bass, and that would be an epic fishery if they just kicked all the rich people off of it, got all the carp out of there.
Yeah.
But anyway,
But yeah, I mean, our goal is to protect the resource. So whether
Right.
that's, as you said, if we ever get to a point where we can do more management of native vegetation. To do that, we have to control the invasive vegetation.
Invasive. Yeah.
Makes sense. Man.
He's out there helping y'all, you idiots. Hey, man, I just like to mess with these guys.
No, we like we said at the beginning of this, we really wanted to have these guys on. Weren't sure if they would even respond, and so thankful you guys are. And great conversation. Glad you came out. I think they did a phenomenal job telling their side of the story and enlightened me for sure. I'm gonna start calling this place McGee. I'm out there on McGee.
We're making those hats.
The Weevils?
Yeah.
The Weevils.
Team Weevil.
Dude, that's gonna be a seller.
You just said it. Now everybody's gonna do it.
Well,
we did it first.
We're patenting it.
We did it first. Man, I mean,
I will say the weevils are more susceptible to the cold than the Giant Salvinia is.
That sucks.
We lost most of our weevils last year during the February cold snaps.
I would think like science these days, you guys could like just generate a weevil, like create a weevil.
Steroid weevil.
Yeah. Yeah. Some testosterone fueled weevils that just
Well,
handle
you probably, I don't know if
Do they have Canadian weevils? Surely they got weevils up there that can handle the cold.
I don't know if y'all were out there awake this morning, but there's probably a few weevils that lost their lives today.
Died this morning.
Freaking cold.
It was cold. It sucked. Look at my face. It's all red and wind burnt.
Yeah.
But, well, man, thanks again for your time, and I appreciate you guys coming out. It's Friday evening. You guys probably like, I'm going to go talk to these fools in this garage.
Yeah. We do
Not a
appreciate
garage,
it,
by the
guys.
way.
Yeah, thank y'all for the invite, and if there's any other questions, I mean, definitely reach out to us. I'll be glad to answer any question anyone has out there.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, those of you that watch this, I'm sure you guys will leave some comments. If you guys got any questions, throw them out there. Maybe they'll jump on and respond.
Yeah, maybe.
I already said I'm going to put Mr. Nelson's cell phone out there, so he
Right.
can just address all the issues. He's like, God dang it. Not
Well,
going to do that.
I think that about wraps it up, man. Unless you got anything else you want to add or anything else you want to add.
We can just do our little closing.
All right, cool.
Hey, man, we appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Well, there you have it. Not killing hydrilla. This man is not killing hydrilla.
Yeah, man. I got a little history lesson today about Sam Rayburn. It's always interesting to hear about a lake that's so near and dear to all of our hearts as Sam Rayburn is, and
this isn't just about Sam Rayburn, because I'm sure there's lakes across the country that are probably doing a lot of the same things. In the South, at least, that are facing the same challenges. I'm sure other core lakes in other states are kind of doing the same thing. So I'm sure they got their bass fishermen over there, firing off rounds at their
of course.
Poor guys are out there spraying, just doing their job. They probably fish too.
Yeah, they probably like to fish, guys.
Yeah. I bet they got a rod and reel in there. I'd be dragging a Carolina rig behind me.
Behind you out here spraying.
Ooh, got one.
Stick him.
That's the old Kevin Shivers move. He'd put a rod between his leg and he'd fish with the other one.
Would he really?
Oh, yeah.
Old Shivers, man.
Shivers.
That was a good one.
Well,
what do we got on the future plate here? I know we've talked to John Cox a little bit.
Yeah. So they've had back-to-back elite events, so we haven't been able to get a hold of him.
On
I called it too. He's going to make the cut. He told me, he said, man, we can do it like on the weekend. I said, nah, man, you're going to make the cut.
He's on the Harris chain, right?
Yeah, I think he's doing pretty good in that one, so maybe we'll talk to him next week.
Okay. Probably.
But,
we'll definitely have him on. I think there was somebody else, man, that Aaron mentioned someone today. It was a good guess too, man. It was Gerald Swindle.
Swindle, yeah. One of our friends reached out to Swindle, G-Man, and he said, when he's done with this event, so maybe we'll record 2 next week, one with John Cox and Mr. Gerald Swindle.
Yeah, and, guys, we've got we've had a few camera guys come in, and we're going to check some things out because we're going to start trying to do some lives.
Do some live segments. I think we'll still record these episodes,
Oh, absolutely. Of course.
And then we'll do some live segments. And, we're open to ideas, whatever you guys want to hear. Maybe, I don't know.
We're going to start generating some YouTube stuff, too, some content with...
that was fun the other day.
Yeah, we went on the lake and jacked them, man. Y'all are going to really like the footage. Shane is...
Did we ever talk about my finger?
Shane's finger
still doesn't bend.
He can't bend it, so the whole time the footage is just hanging out there.
Everybody's like, what are you pointing at? Why do I hold a fish like this? It doesn't bend. Sorry.
Poor dude dislocated his finger so bad and he can't bend it. We're going to try to do some content stuff because, we to host the podcast and stuff, but we fish like every weekend, especially this time of the year. We're always fishing tournaments and stuff. So we'll do some content more stuff on YouTube, and hopefully do some more live streams, have some more heavy hitter guests on, and the juices rolling.
Man, great episode. Can't wait to put this one out there, hear what you guys got to say about this.
Yep.
Thank these guys again for their time.
Thank y'all, man. Till next time, guys.